give you a summary of the David and Goliath story, but more importantly, give you an understanding of what is its meaning for us today as Christians. This story comes from the first book of Samuel, chapter 17. And in it, Goliath is a great Philistine warrior who comes out onto the battle lines and challenges the armies of Israel to come fight him. Nobody wants to oppose him. He's so big and scary that everyone flees in fear when they see him. David, at the time, is young and working for his father, Jesse. And Jesse sends David out to the war to check on his older brothers, to see how they're doing. And while David is there, he overhears this challenge of Goliath, and it offends him. It offends him that Goliath is going to challenge the people of Israel and the living God, he says. And so he goes to King Saul, the king of Israel, and he says, I'm going to go fight against Goliath. And can you only imagine the laughing that might occur when he comes up to say this to Saul? Because Goliath is seemingly impossible to defeat. He's a very experienced soldier. That's the first objection that Saul says to David. You're just a youth, and he's been a soldier from his youth. So David is a youth, no experience as a soldier, and Goliath has always been a soldier basically his whole life. And we know from the story the depictions of Goliath, he's got a helmet, he's got armor, he's got a shield and shield bearer, and David doesn't. So Saul gives him his armor to try on. David tries on this, bulky looking armor, doesn't quite fit, slows him down, and so he doesn't use it. He takes it off. So David has no armor. Goliath has very, very heavily armed. He's got a sword, he's got a spear, he's got a javelin to fight against anyone that might oppose him. What does David have? What does David bring? Not a sword or a great weapon, but only his shepherd's staff, a sling, and stones. But there's one more thing that David has that Goliath doesn't. And that's the key for us to understand as we read this story. It's not just that David is an underdog and he defeats the great Goliath. It's the fact that David has the Lord on his side. David has the living God to support him. And he even says to Saul that I have faith, I have confidence that I'm going to be able to defeat Goliath because as a shepherd, I've already defeated lions and bears with God's help, not with my own experience or with my skill or with my great weapons, but because God had delivered him from the lion, from the bears. He had faith that God was going to deliver him in battle against Goliath. And that's exactly what happens. David goes and he opposes Goliath. He fights Goliath. Goliath laughs at him, saying, how could you possibly defeat me? How could you come to me with just a stick, basically? And here I am with all these weapons and this armor. And David rushes into battle and he takes his sling, hits Goliath in the head with a stone, and Goliath, of course, falls. And what David says before that is so, so crucial. So this is again from 1 Samuel 17. It says, this very day the Lord will deliver you into my hand. This very day the Lord will deliver you into my hand. That all this assembly may know that the Lord does not save by sword or in spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand. What David is saying there is not so much what he did or didn't come with, but it's the Lord that's on his side. And so what is the connection for us today is ask yourself, what is the Goliath in my life right now? What is the Goliath that we are facing right now that I'm trying to overcome with armor, with shields, with something of this world that might give me the confidence to try to defeat it? And maybe I need to turn to the Lord in faith that he is going to deliver me and help me defeat and overcome that Goliath. So think about that as you read this story. What is it that is opposing me that I need to defeat? And how can I pray for the Lord's help? How can I have the faith and confidence that David had in fighting against Goliath in my own life? So I hope you go and turn to the Lord and ask for his help to deliver you, to be with you, to overcome whatever great opposition you might have in your life, whatever great challenge might be in your life. Turn to the Lord and let the Lord be with you as you go out and face those fears.